thanks to everybody who has joined and make their way onto the 57th IRMA AGM. I'd like to start with some introductions. So myself, Durgesh, have been the chair for the last year and taking on another role of the webmaster for the IRMA as well. Andy, you want to go next? Andy, would you like to do a quick introduction, please?
Now, where shall we start?
Yep. Andy, just about your quick introduction to the wider team, please.
Sorry, I'm lost. Which slide are you talking about?
No, it's a quick introduction. We're just introducing everybody.
Just basically introducing yourself as Vice President of IRMA, Andy.
Yes, Durgesh is the chair of IRMA, and I'm vice chair, and Paul is secretary.
No, Andy, it's a very quick introduction just for your good self as deputy chair. It's literally a 10-second thing, like Durgesh said.
Well, what do you expect me to say about myself? I wasn't prepared to do anything.
Paul, you want to go next?
Yeah, Paul Smith, proudly serving as secretary for IRMA over the course of the last 12 months, and appreciate the opportunity to be here after a difficult few months.
John?
Hi, I'm John Mitchell. I'm the equivalent of the Chancellor of the Exchequer. I control the money and the payments that go out of the organisation.
Thank you. Aaron?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Luckily, John, there's only been one of you throughout this year. I think we haven't changed our treasurer once every month, so that's good to see. Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Darren Roberts, and I'm currently on the committee's communications and social media lead, and it's a position that I'm standing for again at this AGM.
Thank you. And we had a few apologies from our events organizer and early careers advocate, as well as our inclusion officer would be joining us soon in a few minutes. Those were the details, and as I said earlier, thank you for joining. So we have not just from an IRMA, but we have specializations and representations at various other wider representation as well. So Darren represents the BSI on the risk management committee. John is on our committee board finance committee, as well as myself. I'm with ISO, ISACA, CSEC, as well as recently have been one of their first chartered individuals on the UK Cybersecurity Council, as well as their mentor and coach on BCS Careers Network. And our fellow from events organizer, he's a fellow of the CSEC as well as CSEC assessor. So just to recap our 2021 and 2022 season, we onboarded, so we had some difficult times. Obviously, everybody at a global level, we faced. Sorry, could everybody go on mute, please? We had difficult times to the likes of Brexit, COVID, and what have you. And it was very difficult to find and onboard volunteers within the team. But we did onboard our inclusion officer, Juliet Flavel, our early careers advocate, Lee Campbell, our events organizer, who is not on this call, but Andrew Richardson. And we have presentations which are free to attend for BCS. And nothing to self-praise, but along with myself and Pidgeman, who is also BCS IRMA member, he has been great. We have been really grateful to him as well, who has been representing BCS IRMA on BSI on various activities. And few of them have been listed here, along with myself at the bottom, who have been contributing to the latest 27002 series. and 27,000 family of international security standards. Just looking at a wider membership, now there has been a downfall from 2021 going into 2021-22. So as you see, there have been a total of 1,500 odd members within IRMA, but that has dropped to about 1,374. So almost 200 members we have lost. And we're trying to encourage as many people, as many folks, as many professionals to make BCS and the wider community making IT good for society. But we need more and more professionals, more and more volunteers to come forward. John, if you would like to talk to the accounts and the financials, as we said earlier.
Sure. Traditionally, IRMA's budget has been based around the number of physical events we actually run in London. Now, of course, the last few years, we haven't really run any physical events, but the BCS were kind enough to award us quite a large budget on the basis that we were going to run some in 2021-22. But unfortunately, most people wanted to remain with Zoom meetings to do things virtually rather than have physical contact. So ultimately, we ran no events whatsoever in London. So in fact, although we had a very large budget, we only spent about £40 of it. So we're in an embarrassing situation of having lots of money available to us that we didn't use. This will undoubtedly go down next year. In fact, if you move to the next slide, please, Durgesh. You can see what's actually happened is for this current season, which is from September 2022 to August 2023, our budget has been reduced to £885. And in fact, at the moment, we've spent really none of that either. So we're in an embarrassing situation of having money to spend, but nothing to spend it on. So I guess we're going to have to make a lot more of an effort to get people to physical events in London rather than just rely on Zoom meetings. Personally, I think the physical events are much better from the point of view of the networking and the colleagues you actually meet and make as a result of that. So what I would hope is that we'll make much more progress in organising the physical events. Back to you, Durgesh.
Thank you. And absolutely, as John said, we need more people. Now that we are coming to some sort of normalcy, get on board onto the physical offices, more of networking, more of spreading the word. Looking at IRMA governance, so what is IRMA? What's our vision? What do we do? What's our vision and objectives? And this is more of a balanced scorecard. So what are we trying to do? So we have our vision. We have a vision and objectives that flows down into a balanced scorecard. And that is absolutely supported by our standard operating procedures, our declaration of interest and understanding. We look at our risk registers and our frequent quarterly committee meetings, as well as the involvement with the student chapters, which is all on the website. Internally, this is all managed through another portal called Basecamp, but that's purely for the committee's sake and the BCS. But everything other than that is available on our website. And this is what we would like to come forward. And this is a new team that has been elected and declared for the next year, starting from today, 2022 to 2023. So proud to say, everybody has been kind enough to re-elect me as the chair, Paul as the secretary, and John is back on as the treasurer with Andy, Juliet, Lee, Darren, all retaining their positions. We have a few positions that are still vacant, like the events organizers, the webmaster, as well as the academic relations. So if there's anybody who would like to volunteer for the good cause of our community and risk management, please step up. And there's no constraint, if I would like to say, that this has to be London-based. This could be from anywhere across the globe. So we have had positions held from our ex-academic relations was based out of Brazil, if I'm not wrong. So it could be based anywhere. So do come up, and it's all for a good cause. And what do we have planned for 2022 and 23? So we are planning about 11 hybrid and 14 webinar events. When we say hybrid, we would like to go remote, but at the same time, as John said earlier, we would like to see more and more physical events in the London office, which would be streamed over either a GoToMeeting or a Zoom or some platform. We would like to increase the membership demography and diversity and inclusion. So people from any race, ethnicity. I'm seeing more and more people joining, which is great. And we would like to have an inclusive community. And later on, you will also hear from the CEO of BCS, what we are planning to do, why computing, why do we need to be responsible for all this? But at the same time, it's for everybody, irrespective of your age, gender, race, etc. Any questions? Now, be it on our events, be it on our overall governance or even the finance, please free.
If I might say one thing, Durgesh, just in agreement
Yep.
with what you said, just very quickly. There's been a lot of active criticism of the BCS over many years about being London / Southeast centric. And as you very rightly say, it's about making the BCS more harmonious, more receptive, more active listening, more international,
Yep.
and more inclusive. And I have my own views on why this situation's happened, but as you very rightly say, the BCS works effectively when it's a broad church and it's an inclusive community, and the benefits of 10 years worth of digital transformation in the last 2 years means that we've now got greater opportunity to be more inclusive and welcome people from different cultures, different parts of the world to fulfill vital roles within IRMA. Because again, and to finish, the lessons of the last 2 years have shown us that the need for IRMA, in my opinion, is greater than it ever was, because the risk management vectors are wider and deeper and larger than they've ever been, and the attack vectors are greater than ever. So critically, the more expertise that we can fold into IRMA, the better, because the need is today greater than it's ever been.
Absolutely. And not just about those attack vectors, but, and you said the culture, you get a different perception from a different individual.
Well, arguably, when you've got weak laws and weaker regulators, problems are going to happen. And we've just seen a major incident this week, as we were talking about prior to the start of the call. So, you know, that's where I'm coming from. But I don't want to enter into a Paul Smith diatribe, as I'm prone to do.
Any other comments from anybody else? John, Darren, Andy?
No, I'm fine. Thank you, Durgesh.
Thank you.
No, I'm good, thank you.
If there's no questions from anybody else, I would like to bring this to a close. Thank you so very much. We'll soon have Rashid Parma, the CEO of BCS, presenting, or I would rather presenting, I'll take my words back. There's a talk about a particular subject that you would like to speak up on. Thank you.
Hey, Durgesh, I'm here. I'm happy to start now if everybody's ready.
Yep, I think so.
So good evening, everybody. It's great to see many of you join this this event. It's good to see that IRMA is trying to reestablish its position as a leading authority and a convener and a driver of technical competence around an important topic, which is risk and assurance of our system. So it's great to see everybody. As I hope many of you are aware, I took on the role of Group CEO for the BCS on the 1st of October. And various people have asked me to come and kind of share my views. So I have no presentation, there's no slides. I'm just going to talk, and we'd like to make this a conversation. So I'll be watching the chats. If you want to send any message to me on the chat, I'm more than happy to continue to converse, and we can continue the conversation that way. Or please do come off mute and we can talk. So the topic that I suggested we talk about is responsible computing, and this is something that I've been championing and pioneering in IBM before I left IBM on the 6th of July this year. And it comes from work that we started almost 4 years ago. And the work really started because we saw there was a challenge amongst CTOs, and the role of the CTO was changing significantly. And the CTOs we felt were in various different groups, and we wanted to try and understand really what is top of mind for those CTOs. What is it they're focused on? What's the challenge that they face? And Paul, I got your message on a BCS model needs urgent reform. Got it, and we can talk about that. That's certainly a topic which is near and dear to my heart.
Respectfully, sir, I've been trying to get it changed for 10 years, and successive membership secretaries have had no interest in listening whatsoever. And respectfully, the membership base, had I been listened to, would probably be 10 times bigger than it is. But I don't want to monopolise anybody's time.
No, we'll come to that. I'd love to hear your views, because we've got a chance to make lots of different changes, and I'll come to that more in a minute. And I'm not going to talk about the BCS per se. I'm going to talk about responsible computing to start with. So let's try and get that up first, and then we'll absolutely more than happy to come to that. So it comes back to this conversation we were having with CTOs, and we're really trying to understand what were the decisions they were making, why were they making those decisions, what did they expect the business to achieve, how were they going to really enable and drive that next era of digitization, make that effective and valuable. So we went through this process, and 2022 I led the team that interviewed 100 CTOs, and in 2022 we actually interviewed or surveyed 14,000 CTOs around the world. So there's a lot more insight that came through. But it was actually the 2020, 2021 survey, that a set of interviews, that really got us thinking here. And there's a paper that I published, and you can get it from my LinkedIn. It's called the Architectural Decision Points, and it talks about the 6 or 7 key decisions that CTOs are making. But what was most interesting wasn't what they were saying, but what they struggled to say. And I think it comes back partly to what you were saying before I joined, Paul, around some of the risk vectors, some of the issues that people are facing. CTOs are really anxious about the risk for themselves around unintended consequences, and them having to take the accountability for those consequences. Consequences like, is my AI suddenly going to produce some results which results in the brand for my organization being severely damaged? Am I going to have some risk vectors which can create data loss or data challenge which I didn't expect? Am I going to be called out as being a polluter at scales which we hadn't imagined? Am I going to be doing something which is ethically inappropriate, or certainly puts us into a very difficult ethical position? And so we kind of analyzed these 100 or so interviews, and started to pull out the weak signals of what is it that they were saying, and why were they saying this. We got to something like 115 to 120 different issues or challenges, and we call them anxieties. That these were anxieties that the CTOs, and for CTOs, think of it as euphemism for CDO, CIO, CT, any sort of CT technology person, IO kind of thing, right? And we pulled these together, and we started to say, hey, look, there's some really significant issues here, and we've got an urgent need to provide some clear guidance and support for these senior technical leaders, and have to build something which takes IT forward. So that was one part of what I saw happening. The second part of what I saw happening was, you know, the role of IT in driving the digitization agenda going forward is greater now than it ever was before. And the need for sustainability and carbon reduction is very, very prominent. I went to COP26 in Glasgow and kind of listened to a lot of the conversations there. And it was clear that the conversations were similar conversations to the one that had been had 6, 7, 8 years before. And whilst there were some little bits of progress, there was very little actual tangible progress that would give you any confidence that we're going to make a difference here, right? And so there's some quite significant issues that I saw there. The next thing I kind of observed was some of those systemic issues where, quite frankly, IT professionals haven't been quite as professional as they should have been. I had the good fortune of talking to, or maybe you might think of it as not so good fortune, talk to people from Cambridge Analytica to try and understand how they let that situation happen. And they were kind of talking about how they got themselves into a position where they were doing things that they personally didn't feel comfortable doing, but they didn't have any way out of that situation. Also kind of looking at some of the kind of behavior from some of the IT leaders around the world, and what I might refer to as being relatively teenage type behaviors. So I kind of coined a phrase amongst the teams that I was working on that, you know, IT is a teenager and it's about to grow up and become an adult. And in that process, we need to have an adult in the room. And I felt that BCS could certainly become that adult in the room. So I kind of worked more through this. We had over 100 people across different parts of IBM helping us. We were working with many of our clients at the time. And we developed a framework which we referred to as responsible computing. And we started to gather the best practices around, so what would a responsible data center actually look like? What are the best practices in reducing the environmental footprint, reducing the energy consumption, reducing the water usage, reducing the pollutants that it might produce? And what the best practices that we could share, what kind of metrics should we be using? And then the second, so there's 6 domains in this responsible computing framework. So data center is the first one, responsible data center. The second domain is responsible infrastructure. And there we looked at things like circularity. How do we recycle those pieces of technology? How do we make sure we maintain longevity of those technologies? Also concerns such as vulnerabilities. How do we make sure we understand what the potential vulnerabilities are? How do we understand some of the potential risk vectors, as you talked about, right? The tier above that was responsible code. You know, the way that we write code today has become very much no code, fast codes, and, you know, agile, etc. And often some of the disciplines that we need to have to ensure the security, the privacy, the completeness haven't really been taken into account. I'm not saying it's done everywhere, but there are significant portions of that which is kind of worrying. So we're trying to draw out what the best practices for responsible code. And then going up from that into responsible data use. So are we capturing data for the use that it was designed for? Are we ensuring that we've got the right kind of ethical framework around the use of that data? Are we protecting the privacy of the people whose data we're using? Right, and so on. And then responsible systems talk about the whole system level concerns. Things like, are we being inclusive in the design of those systems? Are we considering the needs of for accessibility around those systems? Are we ensuring that those systems are secure, are free from intrusion, using the right kind of levels of encryption in the right kind of places, free from potential tampering? And then the final part of the responsible impact. And that really provided kind of ethical framework around how do we make sure that the systems that we build are addressing the societal issues that we should and should prioritize. And just because we can doesn't mean that we should. So how do we choose the right kind of things to focus on? So this became a framework. We built it out over 2 years. And the more I looked at this, the more I started to realize that it was important that we took this out of any one organization's reach and actually put it into an open source space, which is why I work closely with OMG. And the BCS was actually one of the founding members of that organization. So in May this year, there was a launch of responsible computing. There's a website, responsiblecomputing.net. You can go and have a look at all of that. And all of you are more than welcome as BCS members to access that and actually contribute to that, because I think each one of you will have expertise and knowledge which would actually help us in building out some of the framework and building out some of the details here. So I'd urge you all to go and look at responsiblecomputing.net. There's a lot more detail in there, and it structures a lot more than I've talked about here. But I think the time is now where we can really step up. And I think this is an opportunity for the BCS to really think carefully about how we position ourselves as being the competent professionals that are ethical in what we do, that are inclusive, and are accountable, and ultimately epitomize responsible computing. So you might be saying, well, okay, that's all good, but what do I do? How do I start with this, right? And the simplest starting point is there's a very simple manifesto, similar to how the Agile manifesto was created. We've created a set of basic principles which start to prioritize the right kind of aspects of responsible computing. So I'm going to pause there and really try and get some feedback and questions from you, because I think this is most useful as a conversation rather than me preaching to you. And then if there's no other questions, Paul, I'd love to go into the topic that you had around the BCS membership model. I'd love to understand more about it.
As we say in Cambridge, be careful what you wish for. Now, I mean, again, I'm not here to agitate. I'm not here to troublemaker. The stark reality of it is that the BCS membership model is wrong. It's been wrong for many, many years, because if you're looking at an annualized fee model, you are never going to grow the membership base of this organization to the point where it should be, nor will you have the diversity and inclusion that you want. Because we're in a situation, respectfully, the country's in recession, we've got a cost of living crisis. The amount of people that could afford 120, 130, 148 pound a year, whatever, as opposed to the people that could afford £4, £5, £6 a month on a junior student model, or £12 a month on a professional level. If you had a monthly payment model on a SaaS model comparable to other professional membership bodies, your membership base, in my opinion, would be closer to 500,000 than 50 or 60,000. And if you look going back at the whole issue with the Axelos membership divestiture, where 5,000 members of a 60,000 membership base organization were deemed to have no monetary or commercial value to an organization, and people came in and swept up and paid X times book to get those clients, because respectfully they knew how to manage them and upsell them, which respectfully the BCS didn't have a damn clue. And rather than giving someone at my level lectures for X amount of years that when we get Salesforce in, Paul, the world will be right and we'll be able to do all these wonderful things. And it's all a question, once they got Salesforce in, all they could do in Swindon was try and find another bigger tree to hide behind. And, you know, we've been in a situation where the membership base was allowed to contract to 55,000 or whatever it is today, should never have been allowed to happen, and respectfully would never have happened in the private sector. And I'm not trying to, you know, have a rant, but it's the way this organization has been run historically is shocking to me. And that's someone who cares about the BCS.
And so your point on a monthly membership model is certainly something that I'm trying to get fixed. So, yeah, bear in mind that I'm now, this is day 74 now at the BCS. So I haven't been here that long. I'm trying to turn things around. So absolutely agree with you, and yeah, love to understand more about that.
You know what would happen if Elon Musk went into the head office in Swindon? Do you know what he'd do?
Well, I'm hoping that Elon Musk never does, quite frankly, because
if Elon Musk walked into that Swindon office, 70% of the staff would be gone.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad that Elon Musk doesn't go there, because I don't think he's a role model for anything that we want to cover. To be frank, but that's a different discussion.
Agree to disagree is a hero of mine.
Yeah.
Darren, you had your hands raised. You have
Darren.
Yeah, first of all, welcome, Rashik. And it was good, incidentally, taking part in your debate yesterday that we had with regards to the government's view on whether we're the next Silicon Valley or not. I thought that was an excellent debate, and there was a lot that I got out of that. So thank you for that. With regards to your 6 pillars, obviously we're here as the BCS IRMA. I'm a technology and digital auditor. I'm the director of a technology and digital audit company. With regards to those 6 pillars that you feel that are there, how do you think that technology auditors can contribute with regards to giving assurance over to independently to a CTO on whether they are running a responsible IT service or not?
Yeah, a great question. And one of the things that the OMG team and the kind of community is trying to do is build out a kind of structured set of questionnaires, really initially to build a maturity model. But that maturity model will start to tell you where the potential vulnerabilities are and where you might find certain risks and issues and actions that can take to try and improve their capabilities in each of the 6 domains. So the maturity model is still in the development. So if you are interested in that, then we'd love to get you involved in that. There's some early drafts of material, and actually having experts like you look at it, review it, and provide guidance would be absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Thank you. We run something here very similar. It's called Healthy Organization, but it's something that we've done for about 5 or 6 years, and to be honest, it needs a bit of a refresh. So if we've got a little help as a result of this framework, that'd be really welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a link to responsible-computing.net on the site. If you go there, and as a BCS member, you should be able to get access to everything, because as I said, BCS is a founding member. So you should all, as BCS members, have access to all the material. If you have trouble, then come back to me and I'll try and fix that through the structure. But it's run by Object Management Group, which is a kind of worldwide open source framework. And they are looking for people to join parts of that to contribute to that, because again, we don't have a monopoly on getting it right here. So the insights be really valuable.
Sure. Okay. Lovely. Thank you.
Rashik, just to
yeah.
Sorry, Darren, go on.
No, carry on.
Now, just about to add to what you just said, and Rashik, similarly to what just Darren said, and coming from a security and risk assurance background, to those pillars and frameworks, how do you ensure you have the right adequate security controls in place? Because security has always been thought as an afterthought rather than build it into the right from the word go.
Yeah, this has been a constant challenge for us. Do you do security design up front, or is it done later? Everybody focus on feature function first, and then all the non-functional needs get covered in the future if we get time. And that's there's no easy answer to that. We'd love to have better ways of doing that. And again, the best practices are where you establish some of those core competencies and core capabilities in the framework or platforms so that you can build that. So what we're doing with responsible computing is providing some clarity. If you look at the manifesto, you'll see there's some very clear guidance. It's got to be done by the professionals, so that the people at the front doing the work, by signing up to the manifesto, they are committing to do the security design earlier in the cycle rather than later. So some of those principles are baked into the framework, but it's down to us to help drive that and get that adoption. And that's what I'm trying to do through the BCS as well.
And as you said, this is the foundation through the likes of feeding into the professionals and the likes, but would this be taken into further a step ahead to the likes of academics and the likes as well? Or
yeah, so in fact, in the structure we have, I think Edinburgh University, Purdue, I think Warwick, there's a number of universities signing up. So we're trying to use the academic research to further the knowledge and expertise as well. So again, as I said, this is launched in May, and we're trying to gather the momentum here. So we're absolutely pushing that. I spoke to a couple of the universities. You'll have seen that we launched the net zero set of videos through the BCS a couple of weeks back. And at the launch event, there were a number of academic institutions, and through them, we're using responsible computing as a framework to get the academics on board to put some more academic depth into this as well.
Okay. Sorry, Darren, you have your raised hand again.
Yeah, thank you, Dagesh. Again, I just want to take up a little point that you mentioned earlier, and I think it's worthwhile to mention actually that there has been progress on this already. So it was about it was anxious for this risk for themselves with accountability and having to take the consequences. And one of those that you mentioned is, will I be called out as a polluter? Now, one of the sectors which we cover within my company is primarily within the public sector, and particularly on the back of COP27, in their corporate plans, they very much have to indicate how they're going to meet net zero, specifically by 2030. And suddenly, out of the blue, my team have been dragged into this because they're saying, well, hang on a minute, that's got to include the green IT element as well. So do you think that there's some kind of crossover with regards to the work that we would do with regards to this framework, and also the BCS specialist group with green IT as well?
Absolutely. And part of what we're trying to do is start to think through, how do we curate and orchestrate what happens across the specialist groups. So how do we put some fabric in place where the chairs of the specialist group actually meet and share some of this knowledge, so that we're not progressing things in islands. So that again, that's early thinking. I'm trying to get the work done on kind of recrafting this. And one of the conversations we're having is, do we create communities of practice which are actually building out and publishing some of this content and best practice in ways which is helpful. So these, these are early thoughts, and I'd love to get your insights in that, because we've got to take the BCS to be a role model for the future institutions that we need to have going forward. And I guess some of you will have seen that last week we had the Duke of Kent over to visit the offices in Swindon, and part of that was to start the conversation on, where do we take the Royal Charter next? How do I make this something which is 23rd century rather than 19th century, right?
Brilliant, thank you, Rashid.
So Mary, you've put a couple of comments in the chat. Do you want to come off mute and just talk through those? We can have a conversation. Mary, are you able to come off mute? That's Mary A. Mary, she's new to BCS. It doesn't matter, Mary. There's no issues. Please do come off mute. We're happy to have a conversation.
This is absolutely interactive, and this is your chance to bring up your thoughts. So please feel to unmute and speak up.
So I think Mary's saying, firstly, BCS is a unique organization, and what it offers centrally and with its partners supporting organizations is something not easily found in North America. In some countries, there is nothing like the BCS available. It is only offered through universities or outside industry groups. The workshop BCS provides is top quality. There should be more networking specific events. And Mary, I completely agree with you there. It's it is a unique capability. If I look at, and by the way, I have been trying to find out what exists elsewhere. There are European structures. There are some other countries have some things like this. ACM is the closest we get to in the US, but actually that's a very different. It's more of an academic structure. So the way I'm thinking of the BCS going forward is 3 entities in the group. The first entity in the group is the Institute. And that's really about providing the professional fabric for individuals and organizations to become that professional institution that matters, and creating competence, creating that level of inclusion, access to knowledge and expertise, networking, and all those kind of good things. So help you progress. The second part of the group is the L&D, learning development part of the structure. And that's really about providing a curated set of leading edge learning to help each of the roles and disciplines be the best they can be, and helping individuals progress and realize their kind of career ambitions. And then the third part of the group is education public benefit. And that's, firstly, we own and drive the 5 to 18 agenda for computing in schools. And we're also accredit the undergrad degree for over 100 universities. We do have a journal which isn't that great today, when we were trying to think about how we improve that. So and the big part of that is also driving the public benefit piece, which is addressing the digital divide and some of those bigger issues. So I see the group as these three entities coming together and collaborating to really address the needs of the profession and driving professionalism in a broader context. So that's where I'm trying to shape the agenda. And so Mary, as you can see, that's a much broader agenda than any of the other kind of similar institutions anywhere else. I think there's a big need for that. We certainly saw that from the conversation with the Duke last week. Let me just kind of read the other point. So another thing I observed, because I was looking into this for myself personally. Oops, sorry, I'll just scroll through. So instead of doing courses through Coursera or other organizations, BCS also provides education opportunities as well. The only problem is that BCS is not generally known in North America. So so I completely agree. We've got work to do to get the brand on an international scale. We've got a good brand image in some of the Asian countries, but not in North America. And love to get your views on how we can do more there. and some of the education there. So things like the business analyst curriculum, the testing curriculum is well known as being absolutely fantastic. We're trying to build out the other curricula. So part of the structure that we're developing is a curated set of careers around each of the kind of pathways that exist in the IT profession. And the tools around building from the Sophia framework as a base, building out role models that can help you understand your own skill set and the potential career paths, and then giving you a curated education experience to progress your career. So that's kind of the model that we're trying to build out there.
Just to add on what you just said, and getting BCS widely known across various regions, along with the diversity and inclusion, what other similar organizations are doing, is there something similar BCS is doing on the D&I element of it as well?
Yeah, so on the D&I agenda, you'll have seen that we published the paper with Coding Black Females. We have a very strong agenda with BCS Women. BCS Embrace has come on board last year, and there's a big agenda around that whole ethnicity topic. And BCS Pride, I know that IRMA has been connected very closely with Pride,
yep.
Right? So the whole LGBTQ plus agenda.
Yes.
So yeah, inclusion is a big topic for us. So if you look at the four areas that we want to influence, right? The first topic is professionalism. No surprise there. We want to own and drive that agenda. Second topic is around digital divide. Right? There's a significant number of people being left behind because of lack of access, lack of knowledge, all those, digital expertise. Third one is about inclusion, diversity inclusion, right? And the fourth one is net zero, right? So how do we drive that net zero agenda? And the influence board that was set up this year, we're driving various initiatives around that. There's an owner for each of those themes, and we're influencing government policy, influencing the professional, the best practices, and drawing that kind of skills and capability. and then connecting directly with the specialist groups to draw the knowledge. And the other thing that we did last year was created the Fellow Technical Advisory Group. So that's 28 handpicked fellows that represent all aspects of the IT profession, right from academia through to some of the major organizations like Google, Microsoft, etc. And that group really informs a lot of the kind of core content expertise. So you'll have seen there were three seminars led by them. I was chairing the FTAG until recently, and that really is an agenda to provide that independent insight into some of the most important technology topics that we should be caring about.
Okay. And as you said, this needs to go right from the digital divide, the accessibility, but the foundation needs to be right from schooling.
Yep.
So where about BCS feeds into that with, we do apprenticeships, but other than that, do we feed into
so the BCS,
Mm-hmm.
so BCS defined the computing curriculum, right? So 13 years ago, when the government said we're not going to have IT taught in schools anymore, we were the ones that fought that very hard and brought computing back in. We defined the contemporary computing curriculum. To date, since that time, we've been involved in teaching just short of 7 million students from age 5 to 18 the computing that they need. And that's contemporary computing. So it's things like using Raspberry Pis to build robotics. It's about understanding how you train AI models, right? So it's real, it's modern contemporary computing. We've trained this year alone 7,500 teachers in that contemporary curriculum. We've built assets that they can then use as practical assets. So that 5 to 18 is a major agenda. We've done a lot of good work in that. So I haven't led that, but I'm very proud of what the team has been able to achieve there.
Absolutely. Thank you for that thought. It was more about getting the audience over here, that knowledge as well.
Yeah. Darren, do you want to come have a chat? We can come on, talk about that topic that you were just mentioning there on the chat there.
Yeah, I think it was just to underline everything that that's been mentioned in the last 10 minutes. To be honest, I think there's a great opportunity really for the BCS to kind of widen its wings really, and yes, for us to go out as the brand of BCS rather than people realizing that B stands for British, and this is all about everything that's happening in the UK.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's where the opportunity lies. And if we're looking at, say, for instance, Paul mentioned Mr. Musk earlier. Yeah, if those poor people that Mr. Musk, who has literally just deleted 2 lines from a spreadsheet of and has got rid of 7,000 people, for an institute, a professional institute, to back up those people and have their backs and say, do you know what, you are worth it, and this is where we can help you going forward. I think that can only be good for the profession.
So yeah, Darren, look, just building on that, you may not be aware of my kind of portfolio of stuff that I'm doing. So I'm chief executive of BCS, as you know. I also sit on the NERC Council. So I help steward 220 million of UK research money on the environmental sciences agenda, right? So working with colleagues and helping shape that agenda and drive that agenda, because I'm very passionate about using science and technology to drive real practical usable solutions that solve some of the environmental issues. I also am a fellow on the Digit Lab, which is as part of UKRI funded research institution, looking at how does digitisation change large established organisations, right? Now I'm very well aware that OPEC and others have said that over the next 10 years, 40 to 60% of jobs as we know them will be significantly transformed to digitisation. And when we significantly transformed is euphemism for lots of jobs are going to get destroyed as we go forward. Sure, lots of new jobs will get created, but those people that are in those jobs today will have to find a new future for themselves. And that's where I'm worried, right? So the other part of my portfolio is that I sit on the NERC Council. I'm actually here in Milton Keynes today. And for those that are saying, it's all London centric, I live in Leeds. I don't live in London. right? And so part of this agenda is, yes, you can live in different places and can have a huge influence globally, right? As I have done in my IBM career, I've always lived in Leeds and had global roles as part of that. So there's nothing stopping you do that. But the Open University is an institution, and I'm actually here in Milton Keynes because I'm at the Open University tomorrow. I'm meeting with them to talk about some of these topics. It has a massive role to play in helping those that will get displaced through this digitization to find a new future. Right? If you look at some of the opportunities that the Open University have provided for a long time, it's phenomenal. And for the BCS to partner with them would be absolutely tremendous, right? So that's part of the conversation I'm trying to drive with them. And how do we do that in a meaningful way and help those that will be displaced through this digitization find a better future, reskill them, and make them productive and effective in society? That's part of the agenda we're trying to drive.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Lukesh, I know that we're way off the responsible computing agenda, but I thought it'd be useful to have a conversation then, just give you a preaching on responsible computing here.
Absolutely.
Hope that's helpful.
Oh, it has been. It's really been helpful, and I think for the rest of the audience as well, it's really brights up the whole subject of computing, digitization, the security, as Darren as well said, the assurance piece. It all links together, and it's all for that good cause of the wider community.
Look, we are uniquely placed because we have that royal charter, right? We have our opportunity to make a massive difference in society. As I keep saying, IT is still a teenager, 70 years, right? Just to give you some insights into that, and you're all IT professionals. So I'll ask the question, where did IT start? Where did modern IT really start? Anybody have an idea? Any thoughts?
Darren, I think you're on mute.
Can I just make a punt at it?
Sure, go ahead.
Would it have been the fallout from the computing that was used possibly from the Bletchley years? So we've got to do all these computers, and then saw the rise then in the 40s and the 50s, mainframes, etc., mainframes that were powered like a ZX81 but needed a great big forklift to put them in. So
close. So it actually starts in 1947. If you kind of wind back, in 47 there was the invention of a thing called the transistor in the Bletchley labs in New Jersey, right? And I had good fortune to go and see that. So I saw the first transistor. So it's a piece of metal about this size with gold foil and stuff, and it basically means that electricity can only go in one way, and as a result you can create ones and zeros. You can start to build AND gates, NOT gates, NAND gates, and you can start to build computers as we know them today, right? So wind the clock forward. So 1947 the first transistors created. 2010, have a guess at how many transistors existed in the world. In the chat, just put a number. What do you think?
as in physical devices, yeah?
How many transistors? Physical transistors. So 2010. So 1947 gets invented. 2010. It's a magical number because, in fact, let me make it slightly easier for you. So let's go with how many transistors to every human alive in 2010. So Darren's going with 100, okay? Any advances on 100, less or more than 100 for every human alive? In every mobile phone, yeah, absolutely, in every mobile phone. So Alan's close. Durgesh is going for 70 billion. Actually, so 2010 was a year we hit 1 billion transistors to every human alive. Andrew got it. Billion transistors. So it's 2014, we manufactured more transistors than we grew grains of rice. Right. And we continue to double the number of transistors we can manufacture every 18 months or so. It's a kind of Moore's law. Great guess, Andrew. Lucky guess, but good guess. But that's the heart of where we're at, right? And we still at the infancy of where this is going to go. Think about where quantum is at, right? So in the last week, you'll have seen that that IBM announced its 423 qubit quantum machine, and they are now on the path of doubling quantum every year. They're doubling quantum volume, right? And you know that quantum is going to be a step change in how we think about optimization, solving huge sets of issues. Now, if you think about the security agenda, right? Once quantum gets to a certain level of capability, those RSA algorithms that we rely on will be cracked in a matter of seconds with quantum, right?
Yep.
So we need to think again. That's why we need lattice encryption. We need quantum safe computing. It's a critical need, and there's lots of people investing that. Lots of banks are doing that. So as kind of the IRMA team, you need to understand, how do we get quantum safe? Right? That's a big topic, and this is coming very fast, right? So these are some of the things that we talk about as part of responsible computing, right?
Absolutely. I think Alan has also made a very good point, and it would be really good to have your views on it as well, as to it should include disability as well, and access functionality for designed by people with disabilities.
Yeah, so that whole accessibility. So we reckon there's about 10% of the population today who aren't able to use the IT technologies we provide because of some form of disability, right?
Yep.
And so there is actually work going on within the BCS around accessibility and providing accessibility capabilities, right? So for the blind, having speech from this audio description. There's work that we know has been done on automated sign languaging. So you've got captions running here, but you can also do automated sign languages that helps the deaf. There's other forms of interaction that you can provide. So there's a tremendous amount of work that's being done, but it's not commonly known, it's not commonly understood. Right. So there's work going on right now to build tooling to be able to automatically assess your website for accessibility, for being accessible for neurodiverse people, so this is a massive topic, and we've certainly been working on that. And responsible computing, as part of responsible impact, covers a lot of those aspects, and we start to pull some of those insights into that model.
I think that's a really good point, because I was just about to ask, how do we link the responsible computing element to all these? So I think you have covered that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so responsible systems and responsible impact covers a lot of these topics quite well.
Cool. Thank you.
So as you can see, guys, I'm happy to go wherever you want. We're not tied to any one topic, but I'm very passionate about the opportunity that IT provides here. And I'm also very passionate about the responsibility that we take as the professionals for the next era of IT. And this, for me, is a time when we have to be the grown-up in the room, and we have to help shape the agenda as grown-ups would.
Absolutely. And I think all these conversations and thoughts that we had, ultimately, they do link into the responsible computing in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Anybody from the audience, any other thoughts, any other comments or concerns, questions, please bring up.
So just as a bit of a fun thing, I don't know how many of you saw the picture of us meeting the Duke last week, right? And Paul saying, we should fire everybody in Swindon because they're kind of not fit for purpose, and that's what Elon Musk would do. I have a very simple view on this, right? The people are actually very good if you provide the right kind of framework and support for helping people. Often it's not the people, it's the game that you put, the structure and the systems and process you put around that makes a difference. So when I met with the Duke, we used a telepresence robot to meet him first. So the president was there in person and I was there through a telepresence robot. I was actually just around the corner, but I was trying to make a point that, we are the BCS and we should be leading by example in using and showcasing some of those kind of technologies. Now, the telepresence robot means that I can be sat in Leeds and drive around the Swindon office without being there in person. That's reducing carbon footprint. It's making my role much more accessible, right? And it starts to provide a statement for this is a different organization here. And that's really what I'm trying to drive is, we want to have we want the BCS to be a role model for the digitized enterprise of the future that others want to come and see because we'll have transformed it into an organization we care about. And that doesn't mean firing the people, that means helping them become the best they can be and help them leverage the unleashed power of digitization in the organization. That's what we're about to do.
Absolutely. Just to support that, it's not about more firing, but over the years and months, we have seen BCS membership of professionals gradually decreasing. Now it could be region-based, it could be for various regions. What are we doing to attract those professionals to come back onto this trusted organization?
Yeah. So
make it much more. Yeah.
So just to give you a kind of quick update on that, Holly has done some tremendous work on membership. We will end the year at 66,000 members. Okay, so we were down at 54,000 last year.
Yeah.
So just in the year, we've turned that around. Right? Are we going to stop at 66? Absolutely not. Right. So we are having conversations with very senior people in many places that we will start to grow that number significantly. Right. And the bulk of the new members that we brought on board are student members, right? Because we've made, you'll see the membership structure change significantly. We've made it much more inclusive. The whole chartered professional piece is getting a major overhaul, and you'll start to see how that becomes much more attractive. We are the #1 assessor of digital apprentices right now.
Yeah.
And they're all being connected back into the BCS. So we're trying to wire into the next generation so that they will kind of lead by example in a lot of these things.
Okay. Thank you. And I can only support that because I have personally experienced those membership and the enhancement and the career progression. So absolutely vouch for that. And anybody in the audience, if there's anything, please shout out to the wider BCS membership team. And is there anybody from anyone else out there? Any further thoughts, any closing comments, any questions?
Just a quick one, Gurgesh, on the issue there of membership. I think it's kind of slightly unfair to turn around and say that's the responsibility of Swindon. I think we've all got a responsibility, yeah. I think, as responsible BCS pros to promote what the BCS stands for. I know I do. I was at a Digital Somerset event last week, and actually I felt like the BCS were missing from that, because we had all of the local colleges there, and I said, look, would it be good next time the DSO3 that's due at the end of January, for some kind of representation from the BCS there, and if necessary I'll go along and do that, because I think that as a
absolutely
member and volunteer, that's the sort of thing that we go on. So I think there is a responsibility on all of us as well to increase the membership, and I don't think it's all just down to Holly, as Rashid said. She's done a great job at increasing that membership, and whatever we can do to contribute that, I think we need to be responsible as well.
No, and I completely agree with you on that. And as you earlier said, we are the brand of BCS. We represent BCS, so it's absolutely our responsibility, just as the wider BCS as an organization.
Andrew's asking an important point, and he's saying, getting new members is great, but retention is key. and completely agree. So the structure, let me back up a bit, right? So as I took the new role on, I wanted to go and talk to lots of people about BCS membership and understand what membership means to them. And yeah, I got various responses, like, so I was talking to people who weren't BCS members, and you'd get the polite, why should I be a member type conversation. The less polite would go with the why the F should I be a member, right? And so I thought, we should give people some clear views on why they should be a member, and I fashioned it on 6 Fs, right? So you should become a BCS member because you're joining a family that will help nurture you, grow you, help you realize how to become the professional you should become, right? It will provide you the kind of underlying friendships that you need that will help you expand your network and provide mentoring and coaching and support and help you get through some of the tough times that you might have, right? But you want to work in a space in technology which is moving very, very fast. So the BCS will and should give you the foresight you need of where technology is going. And that foresight should help you work at the forefront of technology, right? But working at the forefront of technology should give you the financial success because you get the right jobs, you land the right jobs. BCS brand, being a BCS CITP, a BCS member should open the doors. It should help on your CV to open the right doors for the right roles. And ultimately, it should give you space to have some fun. So for me, the BCS is about joining a family that gives you the friendships, that give you the foresight to be at the forefront of technology, to have financial success and have some fun. And that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to back it up, as you said, you got the trust, you got the brand, and at the end of the day, you are part of the family. You represent BCS whenever you are out there in the profession, or even at work, or as you said, even out with your friends.
Exactly.
So thank you so much. I think that was a really interactive, great thoughts from everyone out there. I think we have one question from John. Are the BCS actively targeting commercial entities or industry to encourage them to get their employees to become members?
So John, absolutely. So I took the BCS execs up to see an organization called IGS, Intelligent Growth Solutions, right? So as I now analyze it, it's 1.9 million IT professionals in the UK today. We have 66,000 members, which is a fraction, right? So there's a lot more. The majority of those members are in very small organizations, SMEs, basically. So how does BCS become relevant for SMEs? So what I thought I would do is, we know the SMEs are largely digitizing aspects of industries. So let's go and find somebody who's at the forefront of doing that and try and understand the agenda. So the organization I went to was in Invergorry, so north of Dundee, and it's a company called Intelligent Growth Solutions. What do? Well, they produce vertical farms, right? So you might think, vertical farms, what's that got to do with the BCS, right? Well, vertical farms, that organization over the last 5 years have gone from nothing to 250 million a year business. They've got over 200 employees, and close to 60% of those employees are IT professionals, because they develop the AI models, they build the structures that drive the LED lighting for the vertical farms, they drive the hydration, they drive the nutrition, right? And they monitor the germination of those seeds. And this is an amazing place. It's a phenomenal structure. They build these basic vertical structures where they can grow new crops. They're getting yield, which is almost double the size of what the BCS is about. And so as part of that, we're understanding what matters for them. And we're starting to develop a relationship with, if we can get it right for people like IGS, then we can get it right for lots of other organizations. So absolutely, we're talking to many commercial entities, people like Tech UK. These are bodies which we need to build strong partnerships with, but also organizations that like CIPD, the the professional development, the HR profession, CIPS, which we are reaching out to all of those organizations and start to build partnerships with them, because we have a role to play through them to help build that professionalism agenda, right? And then, of course, with government. So a big part of that, so day 2 in the role, I was at the Conservative Party conference talking about responsible computing and the need for responsible computing, right? So this is a big topic, and we've got lots of tentacles that we need to try and drive down, and I'm trying to open up a lot of that.
I think you have really made a very good point here. And I know not everyone was on the session yesterday, but Darren made a very good point at the end that not many of the politicians are digitally aware. So what are we doing for those politicians, if you like, and high profile individuals to get them on board and make this digital story a success?
Yes, in fact, today I was talking to Policy Connect, who are an organization that help drive the education and support of politicians and parliamentarians. There's also the Engineering Policy Center, who I met earlier this week as well, who also do a lot of that lobbying. The Royal Academy do a lot of that lobbying and support. So we're trying to work with a whole bunch of those. So as part of the agenda, we have a policy team. There is Dan Aldridge and Ann Aldis, who are out there doing that work with us and working through what's called the APBG, all party political groups, because we have to be partisan. We can't tie to any one party. We are professionals, therefore we work with all the parties. So we were at all the party conferences this year, and we'll continue to do that to try and drive that agenda. Yeah.
And just to finish off, I think Mary has made a very good point here. And it's just about widening that BCS brand and visibility in those regions, geographic areas, and the wider globe, if you like.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the pathway I'm taking, Mary, on that is to partner with organizations, right? So we're working a lot with people like Microsoft, AWS to help build that brand out and go through them into the worldwide structure. So, very early days, we've got lots of work to do, but yeah, we're trying to do that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure to have you on our event and talk through the responsible computing and the elements and overall BCS as well. It was really insightful.
Pleasure. Hope that's useful. And guys, if you've got other questions or comments or feedback or suggestions, just drop me an email. Connect to me. You'll have my email from this invite. Connect via LinkedIn, via Twitter, any one of those platforms. I'm there. I'll engage. And thank you for all you do, because these communities are critical to the BCS. So a big thank you, and hope you have a wonderful Christmas celebration, however you're going to do it.
And you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Durgesh. Thanks, Steve.
Everyone. Thank you. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you.